Hilman, are you there? Are you ready to start? Okay, thank you so much. Wow, I like this crowd, very responsive. So I hope you guys already have your breakfast and ready to start. Hilman, if you're ready, just give me a cue and I'm gonna start sharing. Right, so whilst waiting for Hilman to get ready, I guess it's 1 minute to 10 and we're gonna start our event this morning. Allow me to share my screen and I hope you guys enjoy the background music just now. It's from Studio Ghibli if you guys watch anime. Sorry, it's not anime if you guys watch Studio Ghibli movies. Hi Nadia. Nadia, which school are you from? Right, perhaps Nadia is setting up. Whilst waiting for her to reply, we have more that is not actually registered, which is good. Thank you so much for coming in. All right, I hope you guys can see my screen. If my screen is visible, can you guys give a show of virtual thumbs up? Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicholas Singh. All right, so selamat datang semua. So I'm so sorry that this slides is in Malay, but I will deliver in English and our mentor's slides gonna be in English, so don't worry. So welcome everyone to Career Discovery Mentorship Program. So before I start, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Shahira. As per in the group, you guys can call me Shahira. So we have more people coming in. Hi, Amirul. So for those who just come in, we are about to start our event this morning. So we have many participants from schools and even a startup from Tegas as well. And we have our mentor here for sure, Hilman Nordin. Hi, Hilman. And we have Amirul from SDEC as well. Hi, Amirul. And of course, all our fellow students from schools in Sarawak. So I was about to start welcoming everyone to Career Discovery Mentorship Program. Again, reintroducing myself, I'm Shahira, the program coordinator from Future Lab. So I've been coordinating CDMP since last year, and we have been to many schools for having physical and online event with the same goal, which is basically wants to introduce about digital careers to high school students. So before I start, may I know, for those who are students here, what age are you currently? Are you currently in Form 4 or are you currently in Form 5? If you guys don't mind, can drop your age. Form 4, thank you so much. Nicholas, 18. Okay, Form 3, Form 3. Form 1, wow, that is very early. Thank you. Emily, Form 2. Nice. So this is very nice, right? For those who are in Form 1 and Form 2, this is definitely a very good exposure for you guys to understand more what are the career studies out there. In this session, we're going to learn about app development, whereby Mentor Hilman going to share about his experience developing an app. So the phone, whatever that is in your phone, right? The application, the app. So Hilman is one of the developers and he has his own product. That's what we're going to learn. And for those who are already from Form 5, 16, 17, 18, this is definitely a very good exposure because why? It's a very near to the next part of life after finishing high school. Then you guys are about to choose, right? Which path do you guys want to go? So hopefully in this session, that is the things that you will obtain, understand about app development, what is the thought process, what are the challenges, and if anyone here are interested to pursue, what will be the next steps. So that's basically the gist today. All right, so honestly, I have skipped a few slides, but I'm just going to walk this through. So before we start, a few gentle reminders. Please feel free to open your camera. We would love to see your happy faces waking up early despite it's weekend. Thank you so much. I'm very surprised that everyone is so early today, which is very nice. So please feel free to open your camera. And this is an interactive session, and I like that everyone is very responsive. So please feel free to unmute and drop your questions in the chat box, or you can respond any way that is comfortable for you. And last but not least, this CDMP session is recorded. And since majority of you are minors, I would like to ask your permission to record this session, as we will upload this in YouTube for other visitors or other mentees to watch. Is it okay if you guys are okay for this session to be recorded? Can I see a show of thumbs up? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Right. So perhaps, right, most of you still, like, this is the first time listening or hearing about Future Lab. So who is Future Lab? So Future Lab is basically the company that I'm working with, right? So we are a social enterprise, and we are based in Kuala Lumpur. And what we do, our main aim is basically to bridge the knowledge gap between study and employment and career through mentorship. So our programs, or the people that we are working with, ranges from high school students like you guys to graduates to working professionals, as well as to entrepreneurs, right? Even our mentor Hilman here was once a mentee in Future Lab. He was once joined a program in Future Lab. Now he's a mentor, right? So you see the cycle, and now like he's the one that will be giving and sharing his knowledge to you guys. So one of the programs that we are doing with high school students is definitely this program, Career Discovery Mentorship Program. All right. So basically, CDMP aims to provide you guys with the knowledge of digital careers. I know as Gen Z, you guys have been exposed to much more wider options compared to us, right? For example, at my age, right, 10 years back, what I know basically are just like professional careers. I want to be a teacher, doctor, lawyer, a bit extra than that, engineers, like our mentor here, Hilman, background engineering. But I believe all of you who attend this session today has much more options. You guys are more exposed through social media, TikTok, that's like the main social media right now, right? And Instagram, and you guys have fitness, the development of technology. You guys know ChatGPT right now. There's no ChatGPT back in 10 years back, right? You guys know about artificial intelligence. You guys have seen how there are like so many apps evolved, for example, right? And you are curious on how to go to that path, right? So that is why we are having CDMP, to give as much exposure, different options that you can choose in your future. So our goal for CDMP is basically today to provide you knowledge, to let you know what is the career of an app developer. Number two is to understand what is the process, what are the challenges, and what are the journey that you will expectedly to go through if you are about to build an app. And last but not least, of course, we hopefully this will benefit all of you in a way that you can chart and plan your future through potential skills and path that you can choose. All right. So, yeah, for the sake of time, perhaps I will skip this, but do let us know in the chat box, what do you think of an app development? Whilst I will hand over the session to Mentor Hilman, but all of you can share in the chat box what is your opinion, what do you understand of app development, of pembinaan aplikasi. And without further ado, I would like to hand over this session to our mentor speaker here, Mentor Hilman. Mentor Hilman is an engineer by profession. Also, his passion is in app development. So he's a co-founder of Wariskan, an app. So let us hear from Mentor Hilman. What is Wariskan and how did he start it? And yeah, over to you, Hilman. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Shaira, for the very good introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm Hilman. I think I would like to share the screen, but at the moment I'm not allowed.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Right. Okay. So can everyone see the slides I'm sharing? All right, that's good. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning, everyone. I'm Hilman. So today is the title is Coding Your Own Path. It's actually a compilation of my journey as a self-taught app developer. What do I mean by this is actually I do not have any formal computer science education. And I'm really excited to meet all of you today, perhaps to share what I have gone through. And at the moment, I'm currently working with Sunway University. Over there, I'm actually working as the senior research fellow, and I also run my own company, Waris Cats dan Berhad, as Shahira mentioned earlier. Okay, so today is about this. I'm going to start with this some research, the something about contagio, turning passion to career, and so on. So these are going to be the topics for today. But I think Ms. Shahira will actually ask me a few things in the middle, so you are also free to come and ask me if you want to in the middle of the presentation. So no worries, this is actually a very informal session. Okay, so let's go. All right, the first topic is about how do I begin. I'm actually um, very jealous of all of you because I started to actually do coding when I was in undergraduate level. So that at that time I was 23 years old. But looking here today, I can see that there are also Form 1 students, there are also Form 4 students. Maybe you have even started doing something like this, doing coding and learning about coding and so on. So this is my very first project. It was supposed to be an internship project. I was at the University of Malaya doing CAD/CAM engineering, computer aided design and manufacturing engineering. And from the internship, I actually started because I did not manage to land any companies at the time for my internship. So what I did was I do my intern in one of the research centers at UM. So when I did that, afterwards I felt that, oh, I think I want to do this further. So I turned it into my final year project, which is to do what we call as a printing kiosk. So I didn't do any of the design of the machine. I just do the software back end of it. So this is my very first time doing something that is really outside of my comfort zone. And I believe that when you do not have any background, of course, it will be something that will be very difficult for you. And at that moment, I have to start looking into what we call as the Microsoft Visual Basic.net because I want to integrate the software with to actually read how many pages in a document, how to actually charge people and so on. So this is the kind of a very simple UI that I made last time. So we have the printing kiosk, starting point. There's also a setting where you can actually do advertisement. So you can fill in these images here. And this actually becomes the advertisement for the printing kiosk when there are no people using it. So the monitor will be actually served as a advertising opportunity. So you can see that the UI is not really good, but I think for that time this is acceptable. I believe it's actually better than most at the time. Yeah, Shira.
Hilman, perhaps you can
No.
share, right? What is UI?
Oh, okay. UI stands for user interface. So this is actually let's say when you use an app, so those are the things that you see in the app. So the buttons, the labeling, things like welcome to printing kiosk, those are the labels. The buttons are, let's say, back and quit and next, reset system, those are the buttons. So these are the things that will pop up when you open an app. So UI will usually be the first thing for the user to actually interact with the back end of the application. All right. So you can see here that there's some uh, there are pictures of this thumb drive. I'm not sure if any one of you have used thumb drive before, maybe still, but I think we are going to use it less now. Maybe do cloud printing rather than go to a specific kiosk to do this, right? Okay. So this is my first humble beginning. And then when in 2013, I did my master's degree, and this is getting a little bit more complex. I'm doing what we call as the hydraulic vegetative braking system. What this machine do is actually it simulates how a 1 ton lorry moves and actually recover the energy from the braking. You can always see when you have, let's say, waste disposal garbage truck, when they move, they usually go and stop, right? So every time they go, they will use a lot of fuel. So it is also beneficial when they want to brake. We're going to use that some of the energy that is required for the braking to be regenerative, to be actually stored again in the form of high pressure vessel. Here you can see these two very big vessel. This is high pressure vessel. So actually, and then on the right here we can see the flywheel. So this one actually spins. So the spinning is actually pumping some fluid into this vessel and actually storing the energy. So when the lorry actually wants to start moving again, it will use whatever that is inside that vessel to be released back and actually move the drive shaft. So in this one, I actually did not design the whole system. I only look into the sensor calibration, instrumentation, and simulation. So the key was actually to simulate how a 1 ton lorry works and actually recover the energy. So that's the simulation part. So this is the thing that I did. This last time we are using this National Instrument DAQ system. But nowadays, I don't think we are going to see this anymore. You have much more. I think today you always use Arduino, Raspberry Pi. It's even easier. Last time this system was very bulky. So I think opportunity is actually is getting better and better to all of you now. So here, of course, you can see some digital input, analog input, and so on. So some controls, and this is actually the thing that I have to do last time. So a bit more than, let's say, if you can now, if let's say you go to a certain coding program, you learn about Arduino and so on. So you are not going to see things like this. It's going to be much more simpler. But of course, at that time, one thing that I want to share in this project is that I've managed to kind of blow the laboratory up in a way that I have forgotten to somehow put some control in the valve. So it actually kind of blow up because of the high pressure buildup. And I think the whole lab is covered in oil actually, because we are not using water inside it, we are using oil as the fluid. Okay, so this is the second part of the research. Now, this is actually very recent. So when I did this one, part two, the research for my master's degree, I was asked by a friend at that time. He said, why don't you just focus on a project that is related to your subject, which is engineering? So things like manufacturing, things like uh, processing, things like experiment on materials and so on. But instead, after I did my first project for the printing kiosk, I think that I wanted to do something that is like this, very difficult things. I don't know why I want to actually bring some difficulty in my life, but that's what I thought at that time. So similarly, this one for masters, when people ask me why do you choose this project, this is actually a very difficult one, because you have to do the system and you have to understand the theory behind the regenerative braking. But yeah, I just go through. There's a lot of people actually helping me doing this actually, so I will share about this later. And then when it comes to this recent one, I'm currently doing my PhD. I just finished my viva a couple days ago, so I will be submitting uh, my thesis later, and actually inshallah finally graduate. So 2023, very long time after 2013, 10 years after that, I inshallah will be finishing. And but this one, similarly, there's also things like because 10 years ago, when I started doing this one, actually there's not really much too much mention about uh, machine learning and deep learning. But towards the end of my PhD journey, somehow my supervisor asked me to, okay, why don't you add machine learning and deep learning inside your study? So I have actually at that time around 6 months to do everything, but I take it as a challenge. And this is also one thing that I would like to share later on the work-life balance also. So here I actually developed this mode segmentation network. This one is for deep learning convolutional neural network. So learning about machine learning at in 6 months is very difficult, but I managed to do it because of a lot of help from others. Okay, so this part is the research. All right. Then, so then next is actually Contagio. This is my first major app project. Okay. Interestingly, when I started my PhD project. Oh, Sarah, any questions before that?
Hi, Hilman. Right, so
Eh,
that's very just a question, right? And I think
yeah, okay,
would
okay.
like to help to clarify
Boleh,
on
boleh.
behalf of the students as well. So just now you shared about your research and your master's and then your PhD research, right? So
Mm-hmm.
and then you move to machine learning, if I'm not mistaken, right? So does that mean from that you are developing app from your PhD project?
Okay. Uh, at the moment, my app development haven't gone into deep learning and machine learning yet. This is the reason uh, it's like this. This is actually very recent for me as well. So a lot of my app development is mostly involving on IoT, AR and VR. That's the usual ones. But
If you
deep
can
learning, yeah.
explain to the audience what is AR and VR.
Oh, okay. Uh, I think there will be slides after this. Okay, great. AR,
All right.
there will
Okay,
be
sure,
slides
sure,
after this
sure.
to share. So it's actually the
Okay.
flow is like that. So okay.
Okay,
All
please go
right.
ahead. So sorry.
Okay. So when I started my PhD, actually uh, I also bringing new difficulties in my life. I originally wanted to actually go overseas to go abroad to do my PhD, but I maybe for the lack of qualification and so on, so I just do it in UM as well. Um, but and then I said to myself, okay, if I'm not abroad, why don't I do other things that can actually help myself in terms of after this PhD journey, I will not only get PhD, I will also get something else. So this is a challenge to myself. Another difficulty that I bring to myself. So in the middle of that PhD journey, so PhD is finishing in this year, inshallah, and it started in 2014. But in 2015, we are doing this Contagio. This is my first major app project. All right. So what is Contagio? Contagio actually is a geolocation app, actually to be used for dengue reporting, so people can share about dengue cases in their area. They can use it to actually view the map and see where are the nearest dengue cases, where the foggings are. This is actually interesting because this one is before COVID. So when COVID came, we can always see in the map where the cases are in My Sejahtera and so on, right? But this one is before COVID, and we did what Contagio. So actually, when we started this, it is partly a brainstorming session with me and Hakim, and we entered this competition called Bank Rakyat YIM ideation competition, and we won the grand prize winner. Not that many 5,000 at that time. But okay lah, for two students, why not? And that's good. So when we developed this, we managed to be featured in some media. This one is Sinaharan, if I'm mistaken. And then this one is from Government Insider portal in Singapore. So this is 2016 when they put this out. So you can see some remnants of the UI for this specific application. In this one, I would like to share one thing. At that time, when I say I developed this app, and this is the very first app that I actually put inside the Google Play Store, it does not mean that I literally developed the app. I only, because as part of the program of that competition, I am, after the winning, actually we are required to do our prototype. And to do that prototype, we are actually given some expert programmers from Indonesia to help us with it. So we just kind of share the UI, how it's going to look like, and so on. So we send it over to them, and they are the ones who actually code everything up. So at this point, I realized that because before this, I have no experience with doing Android development. So in this one, it's focusing on Android first. But to rely on other person to do it, yes, I can. But after it actually launched, I have to actually manually go to the back end and update whenever there's dengue cases from MOH, from the Ministry of Health. So I am actually doing like macam hacking a bit in MOH, but not really hacking, but because everything is publicly available, I didn't do anything, or you just go there, download some data, and I think at that time the data are all available to media outlets, so they can actually download it. But towards the end of the Contagio journey, I think they have somehow blocked the pathway to actually download everything, because at that time the Ministry of Health actually came out with another app for dengue as well. So at that time, I realized that okay, now I'm fighting against. Yeah. So this is how Contagio finally ended. So I didn't actually had a proper burial of this app, but yeah, after that I'm actually busy with another thing as well. So that's the reason I actually not really much focus on Contagio. So we had that win and some coverage, so that's enough, I think. Okay. Okay. Sarah?
Right, thank you so much. So guys, so just now Mentor Hilman had shared about the first project that he basically did, which basically a tracker, right? A geolocation tracker.
Yeah.
On dengue cases. So for example, like Mentor Hilman mentioned, like our My Sejahtera, right? When there is a dengue case happening around your place, then you would know. Just to ask a few questions, Mentor Hilman. Just now you mentioned a few new, perhaps to some of the audience is a new words lah. For example, like prototype and then UI that you have mentioned. I'm going to share my screen, right? Perhaps you can this screen I'm going to show on the flow of developing an app, right? So if you can share, right, a few terms that you mentioned just now, prototyping, UI, which of that takes place in this flow? Yeah.
All right. Okay. It's good for you to share this because most of my slides are on sharing and some tips at the end. Okay. So when we want to develop an app, in this case, let's say, okay, we have strategy, analysis and planning, UI, UX design, app development, testing, and deployment and support. All right. First and foremost, if let's say I put this in the context of that competition, I would say that for the strategy part, analysis and planning is basically when me and Hakim are discussing about what is the problem that we are currently facing that maybe need an app to actually solve. And then to actually analyze that problem and see whether it is an actual problem that needs to be solved. So that and then try also to see whether there's enough resources for us to do it, there's enough data to do it, and so on. So those are also in partly is on analysis and planning. So before we even actually do the development lah. All right. So this is because if let's say if we just simply do an app, if it is a game app, it's a different thing because you can just do a game and some people might like it and try it for you. But if let's say if you are doing like something that trying to actually solve a problem, you have to look at whether the problem actually exists, Will there be people to support it? Resources in terms of funding, resources in terms of, let's say, in my case, for Tejo is data. So this has been actually have to be planned early on. And then goes to UI UX design. I think as part of competition, usually they will focus on this UI and UX design. If let's say your design is good, it's attractive and so on. So this is an actually tips for you if let's say you want to enter a competition. Yes, you have to get something on the UI UX design, making sure that it is here you will actually focus on what are the features that you put in. UI is user interface, UX is user experience. So in this one, you will out of those features, let's say you can report fogging, you can report cases, you can actually pinpoint how many cases. Last time, I think a lot of residential areas have they put banners, right? They put banners and write how many cases can. But using app much simpler. So this is one thing that you will tell the judges, for example, this is how we are going to help. No, now people don't have to actually print banners. They just visit the app and see whether they have cases around their area where they are fogging and so on. Can. Okay. And then only you move to app development. Yep.
If you can share with the students, right? Perhaps they can't really grasp like what is a good user interface and what is not. Example of a good user interface and example of the not so good user interface based from the apps that they use currently. Yeah, so they can see the comparison.
Okay. Example of a good user interface would be something that when I think when you use it, it is what we call as it's very intuitive. You know what to do when you use it.
Is TikTok considered a good interface?
An example, let's say, if let's say you are using mostly chat apps, I think macam if let's say WhatsApp, Telegram, it's really intuitive that you know, okay, you can search for people, you can chat, you know where to type, and you know how to send it. So it's easy, but also you have to look into consideration the age of the people, the demographics of the user as well. It might be easy for us, for our age, or maybe for younger ages, but for older person, maybe WhatsApp is the most that they can take, something like that. So you have to really careful. So an example of very bad UI would be, I would say, at that time, maybe it's like TikTok in the earlier time.
Oh, see
when
how
you started,
TikTok evolved,
when you
guys.
started, you have no clue how to actually, okay, how do I go about using this app? Before that, we are using things like Facebook or Instagram. You know how to scroll and everything. But now when you open it, full-blown video is actually part of your phone. So what do I do next? You do not know, right? So that's the first. So at certain time, a bad UI can become good at certain time. It can become bad at a certain time. So it depends on how intuitive it is, and how it relates to, let's say, prior knowledge. So let's say you have used WhatsApp before. So if I actually make another chat app and introduce to you, maybe you can, I know how to use it directly, even though this is my first time using. So that's an example of UI UX. I cannot think of a very bad. Maybe if let's say a very bad design would be something like my earlier prototype for for Contagio, or maybe for my painting case and so on lah. Right? That would be something.
Okay.
Because partly not because it is ugly or something. Partly it's because not many people know how to use it, so they don't have prior knowledge on using an app. But now I think a lot of people already have smartphones and people are exposed to use that.
All right.
So
Nice.
yeah. So after UI UX design is the app development. In my case, for that competition, we are not doing the app development at all. So someone is actually tasked to do it. But we are taught on how to actually access the backend and update the data. But at that time, I have no idea how to update the user interface to make it, let's say, to change the icons, anything. No, I don't have any idea how to do it at that time. But to go into the backend and update, let's say, how many cases in this location and that location, yes, I can do that. Testing is where you actually ask a few friends first, for example, to test it and see if there's any bug and so on. And this is where you start to release your app, like alpha version, beta version, and so on. So that sometimes when you test, let's say with a group of friends, 5 people, it's okay. But when you started to deploy to, let's say, 1,000 people, then it started to crash. This is the reason a lot of, let's say, you can see now, let's say for ChatGPT earlier on, it is, let's say, for invitation only. But now it is actually, you can use it. You can, after you register, you can directly use it. But let's say if you want to use the ChatGPT API, for example, there's a wait list. Wait list. You have to wait first. So they have to bring in slow people bit by bit in order to use it. And yeah, and then only you do the deployment lah.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much, Hilman, for clarifying these steps by steps. Because I'm sharing this screen because my concern is I'm afraid like a few of them perhaps like they are new terms, right? And the whole process they can't imagine. Hence, I'm sharing this step by step. So just to recap, guys, for what Mentor Hilman just shared about now, when you're about to develop a new app, right, or a new product or a new business even, the best product or business is usually comes from problems. When you identify that, hey, we don't have this yet, but we have this problem, that is when the starting point, like a gap or an opportunity for you to go for that idea, right? So for example, what Hilman shared just now, he realizes there is not yet an app back then to detect dengue cases. That is when they started with that idea, right? So if you guys are now, like this at school and you realizes that, hey, we have this problem, we don't have enough rest in between classes, for example, and it's been years since you guys started schooling, and you think this is an opportunity to be solved perhaps through an app, that is the starting point where you can explore the idea and what are the solutions that you can do. So that's on the strategy and analysis and planning part. So moving from that, which is UI, UX design and app development, is where you start to build the app, which is through coding. The process is through coding. And that is when you can see the first draft, for example, right? The first draft, which is the first prototype of your app. So that is when you know that, this is not good enough. Intuitive, what Mentor Hilman said just now is when you see the app, you straight away know what to do, where to send, where to share, what to write. That is called intuitive. So a good UI UX design is an intuitive UI UX design, right? So then after that, they move the testing and deployment part, which is release of the app. So I hope that clarifies a few questions perhaps. Right, so moving on to the next question. Thank you so much, Hilman, for clarifying on the process. So just now, right, you have shared about your background, which is on your degree, and the first app, but you are seriously getting into the process, right? So how do you turn that passion into a career? Yeah, so perhaps you can share a little bit more on that.
All right. Okay. So after the grand prize winning of the Peng Rakyat Ideation program, so it comes to me that okay, maybe I can do this for a living, something like that. But then I know that at that time it is since I am actually not really familiar with actually developing an app, so I decided not to actually pursue that idea into my career, but instead I do something else. But here I ask, when is the best time to start? If let's say if I can answer this question, I would say that now. When is the best time to start is now, or maybe yesterday. But let's say the next best time is now. Okay, so this is the picture of my very first office as an entrepreneur. Before this, I actually worked in UM. I can't get enough of UM starting degree, and so I work at UM, becoming a tutor. I teach ordinary differential equations, algebra, and so on in engineering. And then when I started to actually receive a grant from the government, we actually won. Wariskan actually won super scheme pemulihan scheme permulaan Bumiputra, superb. So that one is actually 500,000 worth of grant. So we started up this office. And one thing I did here is very wrong is that when I started to have an office, is I stayed in the office, which is very bad for business actually. So this is a lesson learned. All right, but at that time we also got some media coverage. We also being interviewed by RTM at that time. So in Wariscan at first, what we did was actually we do high resolution scanning. Since my PhD at that time, we actually use a high resolution scanner at UM to actually digitize some engineering materials. But I said, why not we scan artworks? Because the original intention of that machine, because that machine actually originated from Japan, they use it to actually scan cultural heritage objects. So I said, why not? Maybe put it as a business idea. So that's how we won that grant in the beginning. So, but the problem was at that time, um, maybe the market is not ready yet to do the scanning. So I have to I have to actually find other things to do. Okay. In that case, if I cannot do scanning for museums and galleries because they are not familiar with this idea, so this is also another thing on the intuitive thing. If people do not realize does not recognize it, it will be difficult for you to actually push your idea through. But now I think it is much more easy for you to go out there and talk about digitization. You have to digitize that, so people will be easier and actually accept your idea and actually pay you for it. But I have to make money. So what I did was I need to provide services. All right. In this one, you can see my picture here with uh, a very simple augmented reality, which is I have a painting. This is actually scanned by us. So this is a combination between the two things. So I did the digitization of Malayan agriculture painting. This one is in a 1960 painting by Chua Tenteng, a very famous artist. And then we print it out with UM's commission because it's UM's under UM's collection, and actually do some augmented reality on top. Right, this one is simple, just writing the name of the artist and the title of the painting. But guess what? After we did this, we started to do workshops. We started to teach schools how to use Aurasma. At that time, Aurasma is an app that actually a very simple. You can just upload whatever you want as a marker, and you can actually use in the studio to actually put in what are the kind of digital content that you want to put. You can actually put labels or text like this. You can put videos. You can put some animation. So very simple, as long as you have the two things together. So you have a prior animation, you have a prior design, and then you can just combine it and you can use Aurasma. But at that time, I learned this lesson as well. We started to make money. Also with government agencies, we go to government agencies and they pay us, and we deliver workshops to students, school students. So they come to let's say at that time in Cyberjaya, for example, we do that. And the lesson I learned here is after that, Hewlett Packard or HP actually bought over Aurasma. So they bought over Aurasma, and Aurasma is known as HP Reveal. And I think as of a couple of years back, they decided to sunset HP Reveal. So there's no longer this thing. Because I think the problem was they were offering it for free. So people like me can actually use it to make money. So I think this is first and foremost. Let's say if you want to do an app business, sometimes there's already an app out there that you can start to use to generate your own money. So in this case, Aurasma is offering the service for free, so you can start teaching other people to use it. So teaching is one way. Workshops is a good way to actually start generating revenue lah. And then you can use that money to focus on your app building. Okay, so that's the lesson. So now, importance of networking and mentorship. So throughout my life, I have met a lot of people. Some actually for more like life guiding mentor, some actually focusing on business and so on. I will name all these people after this. Okay, but before that, I would like to highlight one important thing. I did a lot of networking in the earlier stage, and one of the reason why we decided to stop doing Contigio was I've met with a very um, actually very important researcher in the Center for Tropical Disease. And when I met with him and show them our Contigio idea and so on, he said that this idea is difficult. The reason being is that you are not actually just fighting to get people to download your app and use it, but you are fighting an industry. I said, what industry? And he mentioned that there's actually an industry around dengue. So I said, there's people who are being paid to do the fogging. There are people, there are actually institutions that actually would like people, they supply the medication and so on. So if you are trying to actually help people eradicate dengue, it might not be helpful for those people who are already in that business. So, okay, so this is a realization that you might not see if, let's say, you look at it in one dimension. So there are multiple dimensions in that. So okay, so these people, who are they? All right. So on top there is Harold Twaits, my new boss. I'm in Sunway University. I will tell you a story about him later. Azizi Mardi is now at UTHM. He is very helpful mentor because um, I mentioned to you guys that I decided to take up a very difficult topic when I do my masters. But yeah, I say okay, I want to do it. I want to do it. But then I have no clue. And Mr. Azizi, Dr. Azizi, last time was actually just came back from the US, and he actually showed me the rope. He's not my actual supervisor, but he's the one showing me the rope on how to actually start developing and so on, and learn about the National Instrument DAQ system, MATLAB, and so on. So he is the one actually guiding me through the way. Of course, we have to figure out all the algorithms on our own, but when you have someone who you can talk to, and we call it as a sparring partner, it will be very helpful for your development. So someone that maybe have an idea on what you're trying to do, and maybe have done something already, so that you can just uh, brainstorm your idea with him. And then on the down here is Delphine and Rosie at Cradle. This one is actually part of a program that Wariscan has gone through, to go through, called as the Coach and Grow program. So they are very helpful, not only in terms of business. So they were the ones who actually mentor us in business. They are telling the strategies on how to actually explore further for Wariscan and so on. But they also helpful in terms of um, sharing about life as well. So I actually met Rosie after we finished that program with Cradle, and exchanged with her things like, um, let's say I don't want to do this anymore. Like, what can I don't want to do this. So can I get another job or something? So Rosie was very helpful because she herself is actually an entrepreneur. So getting someone who actually in the same boat like you will be very good, because then she will know, or he will know your situation and can actually give you advice. So sometimes you already have a preconceived idea what to do, but these exchanges are the things that you can use to actually get a second opinion, or someone who is going to look at it from a different angle. So it will be helpful for you. And here we have Raza Ali. This one is also very important to me because I mentioned to you, for my PhD, I need to actually learn deep learning in 6 months. So this is the guy. This is the guy who's helping me. I know I cannot learn a lot in 6 months, uh, but at least I had some grasp of what I need to do next. And now I think at the moment I'm still in contact with him. He has already went back to Pakistan, and we are still in contact, and we are working together to actually develop a new product for deep learning method. And then the last one here is Faisal Rafiq. He is actually my previous boss in UM. I actually have a few bosses, but yeah, he's one of them. And he also even though he's at UM at that time, he also ran his own startup company. So he's the one that actually saw the potential in Contagio and tried to bring it up because we share a grant together. So not only on working relationship, also personal relationships. So and then Faisal Rafiq went on after that to become the VC of USM. So of course, when he's at VC at the USM, we went and visit him. So and he actually introduced what is Ken uh, to some lectures over there, where we actually get our I think in 2020 when we started to have the pandemic and everything, we had actually a project with USM, and that is actually the year that what is Ken became profitable. When other people are actually very sad because of they cannot make any profit and anything, but we actually we actually try to look it over the system and everything, so use the proper documentation. We can still go up from Selangor to go to USM to do this project and so on. So yeah, I think that's good. But other than that, Faisal Rafiq also is actually a very helpful in terms of career development, because he's also advised me as because now when I started in Sunway, I actually kind of starting a new career in a way, because before this I was an entrepreneur. Now in a way an academic, so he's also very helpful in that. And one thing here I want to highlight is that along the way I also found mentors that actually advise us in the wrong direction as well. But at that time, maybe it's maybe my early journey, and I did not know that some advices might not be good. At that time, we discussed with that mentor, and we said that perhaps Waris can actually get around 300,000 in revenue every month, something like that. I believe that idea and so on, but yeah, it's not workable. So it is also important to get some mentors that actually are part of your industry and know what is talking. And it's best if you get someone who is actually very humble and might not interfere in what you want to do, because you have your own idea. It's just that you want to have someone to sparring partner, and get a different angle. So this is the first picture just now, Professor Harold Quates in September 2013. In this picture, I actually was working as here is me. I'm actually working as a research assistant at UM, and Professor Harold Quates was at that time at UM as well, but he was in the research center at UM as well. And in this picture, I actually have to meet Professor Harold as a vendor in a way, because we were actually need to scan some textiles for him. So at one point, this one you can see there's a four people, but at one point I need to visit him alone, and tell him about the price that we are about to charge about the scanning. And he was very furious about it because it was very expensive. But I had to actually deliver the news to him because my boss said so. Because yeah, I need to tell this is the price and so on, and he has to pay. So I think that exchange is also something that is meaningful to me, because later on, after Professor Harold left uh, left UM, there's actually a vacuum, because Professor Harold was the one who actually started doing AR VR things in UM, and when he left, that's when we started What is Can. That's when we started What is Can, and we tried to actually fill that gap, fill that hole, fill that vacuum. We do digitalization, we do AR VR at UM. So that's actually so I think most of the things that I do is usually modeled with what he has done before, because he's had a lot vast experience. And today, starting November last year, I started working for him, and I enjoy his network, because he has a very large network, overseas network, and I would like to tap on that. So that's one of my career goals as well. This is a picture with me and Professor Faisal Rafiq. At this time, I think he is no longer the USMBC, but of course, we still maintain contact, and we can always have a chat when I call him if he's around. KL. So that sometimes you do not know that some people that let's say in contact with you will become a very important person. But I think make do networking, and yeah, you can perhaps get your own person like this later on in life as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Hilman, for sharing the journey and experience, right? So I think the main highlight of what Hilman just shared just now was knowing that some things work and some things don't work, right? And that is when you improvise your product, your business. And it is very important also for you to gather and learn from people that you know. So just now, Mentor Hilman shared about his mentors and people that he knew, his circle. And if you guys have people, or like right now, right, you guys already know Mentor Hilman and you want to start the learning process early, this is actually an opportunity, right? So why do you need to wait up until you like perhaps in a bit later age? If you already have the opportunity and want to start now, this is the opportunity, right? So use that. Right. So we already have 10:54 and we're supposed to finish in 6 minutes. However, for those who are still in the call, perhaps we can have an extra 10 to 15 minutes if you guys are okay. But if you guys have something else to do, please feel free to excuse yourself because the actual timing is until 11. But for those who have free time and can stay, please feel free to stay as Mentor Hilman actually will deliver the last part, which is basically if you guys want to pursue this, what are the skills and what are the paths that you can choose? Right. So Mentor Hilman, you can continue. Hand over to you. So if the students are interested, right, what are the skills and the path that they can choose?
Okay. Okay, along the way, when I started doing this, it's like I think maybe the mindset is very important to have a growth mindset, to kind of have this mindset that says say yes first, figure out later. This is a very important mindset because if you don't say yes first in some requests, you might not get that opportunity to do it later in life. So, and this also are things that always get me in trouble as well. But of course, troubles are good things to have also because it makes you learn and grow. So this, I think maybe when I started since when I 23 years old, these are the kind of skills that I have now. But of course, as I mentioned, I might have all this, but I might not be an expert in all of it. So I have an idea in UX design. I can do some basic graphic design using Canva usually. I do website development as well, AR, VR development, AR app, IoT app. I know how to do all this. And as part of with running a company, I have to look into human resource, finance, and important as well is actually project management. One thing that when you don't have, let's say, these different skills, when you, let's say, focusing on, let's say, only 3D modeling, you might not know how to do an application. So you know how to do 3D modeling, but if, let's say, times needed you to actually develop an app, you might not know how to. But let's say if you know how to do app development and you need to do 3D modeling, then you learn 3D modeling lah, something like that. But earlier on, some of this, maybe I do, let's say for 3D modeling, I do not do my own 3D models. I use what is really available, assets and so on, enough to actually use to create a prototype, something that we call as the MVP, a minimum viable product, something that you can show to client and say, this is not going to be the finished look, but this is going to what the feature is going to be, something like that. So important to diversify skills. So this is an example. So in November, I took a course in YouTube to do a 3D modeling. And this is what I came up. I'm sorry if everyone is fasting and somehow look at this to be very delicious, but don't worry, this is just a virtual donut. All right. Then next is balancing work and life. at one point when I do this for water scan and so on, there's a time where I actually have financial difficulties, and I started to kind of started to actually borrow money from a lot of people, and this is not healthy in especially in life, because you are going to have a relationship with that lot of people, and it is also important for you to start looking at things, and if you need to stop, and to actually stop. So already told you that when you have to begin, yes, if you can begin now, it's better. If you can begin yesterday, it's better. But to stop also is a very important thing, because it's important for your work-life balance. Uh, let's say if you have started to face financial difficulties, then that might be a sign for you to stop. So this is another reason why I started to work in Sunway. The good thing is that they can accept me, even though I was entrepreneur in 7 to 8 years before. So that's good. And yes, you have to embrace failure. Maybe it is more of a challenge rather than something that is going to, let's say, haunt you for the rest of your life. But importantly, to learn from them. And I think one of the big reason why I have to, even though I mentioned we become profitable, but suddenly we have to become dormant now in a way, is because of this project. It's not this one, but this project that I'm about to tell. There's this one project that actually come to us, and they wanted us to actually develop a virtual gallery. At that time, there was the metaverse things actually started to pick up, and I think these days it started to die down. So this is the reality of the industry. So things like earlier I mentioned, one day you can use Aurasma and HP Reveal, another day that ends, and you cannot generate money out of it anymore. So things like this happen, and let's say metaverse say one day say it's good, 2033 now it's no longer there. So but for this project, what I did was to embrace that failure. Was okay, the failure becomes like this. We were approached by a client to do a metaverse project, but I think there's a communication problem in the middle, and uh, even though we actually said to them that the kind of things that we can do is this and this, and we have actually agreed on everything, but in the end, suddenly the client themselves can develop their own metaverse. This is a very interesting part. Uh, this is something that you might not expect, because I thought we are the tech people, but somehow this client, who is actually not in the any way tech related field, know how to do metaverse, because at that time there's a lot of metaverse platform popping up. Now you can already do your own stuff with special and other metaverse platforms like assembler also have metaverse, for example. So but then okay, I say fine, and then we are not being paid in full payment, because of they said okay they want to continue it separately. So that takes a toll in our company, not only financially, mostly actually in communication and human resource. But I myself suddenly think that okay, if let's say they do not agree, I wanted to try this on my own. So I started learning how to develop my own prototype metaverse. So this is how it turned out. It's not really good, but somehow we get uh, around 5 to 7 thousand ringgit for this prototype. This one is actually a prototype that I for another client after I learned how to do my own metaverse. So sometimes it's good to also do things that maybe you are the one who is actually best doing it, and to actually determine whether sometimes you should be in which position. Sometimes you might be a doer rather than the thinker. So sometimes I think I'm better at doing things, right? But sometimes I also can think, but so I'm not sure. So I'm still also figuring myself out. So I think you guys throughout the way also maybe do this also. So build a strong portfolio. So one thing that is important to have is actually build a strong portfolio. I have my portfolio in my website, but it's not good enough. I think I will need to actually do it better afterwards. But it is important to document everything yourself, because that's what your portfolio did, what your portfolio does actually. So when you document all the projects, document all the apps that you have developed, all the some small projects, even like an app to I actually developed an app for my daughter, uh, a chatbot actually. This one is before AI started to pick up like ChatGPT and so on. So 2 years ago, I developed an app that when she asks question to that specific robot, the robot will say happy birthday to her, something like that, because of the date of this day. This day is your birthday, and then it sings happy birthday. So that's a simple app, but if you can do that simple app and actually use it as your portfolio, it's also good. So people can see that with app development, you can be fun, you can be serious, you can be something that very really detailed, and show that you can do all the securities, network, and so on. But you can also do things, fun things like this in portfolio. So, and other things like other than websites, you can do things like this. This one is actually an my recent entry to an exhibition. So this is an art exhibition. It is called Transmedia. So it's actually a culmination of art and science and display systems and so on. So I work with an artist named Shafiq, and he actually built this for me. So we have a stage, and then in this stage, actually, there's a camera there and some lamps to actually to light up the stage and so on. And you can actually see yourself in that stage and explore the AR background behind you. So in this one, actually, I wanted to highlight the planetary health issues, where in a blink of an eye, everything can change. So you control the interaction by blinking. So blink, 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 and your scenario change behind you. So this is another way of publishing. So sometimes when you are an app developer, you always publish websites, but why not go into things like an art exhibition and showcase your AR expertise and so on. So these are things that, let's say, outside of the box that you can think of to publish your work. And I think a lot of people out there also do things like free stuff, free apps, to actually ask people to try and so on. And when it's actually picking up, and then only they start to charge or anything, or maybe they don't actually, that is for the kifayah. They don't want to charge it to any person anyway. Okay, I think this is the last part. Tips for aspiring developers. Uh, so of course, first and foremost, be curious and never stop learning. Um, of course, throughout my journey, I believe that every time I wanted to start something new is like bringing in difficulty to myself. And sometimes this difficulty come also out of control, but it's no excuse for you to just stop being curious. So you have to, yeah, so that actually make you grow. Build a strong portfolio. If you have websites, you have to document everything. You can use website to do it. Sometimes for developers, you can use you should have a GitHub account and have all your repositories down there, and maybe uh, put some, let's say, for public to see, put some for your private use, because you want to, let's say, do version control and so on. So strong portfolio can also be done with GitHub, and maybe have a presence in Stack Overflow and so on. And network and find mentors. I mostly network because it's part of my job for Wariscan at that time, and I meet a lot of people, and from there I actually uh, can filter out which one who can actually become very good mentors for me. Embrace failures and learn from them. In my case just now, I embraced the failure. I did not get paid full, so I decided to actually learn from for myself to do the metaverse on my own and get another client to pay for it. And then of course give back to community. I think it is sufficient enough to say that when I started to, let's say, share it with a lot of people, I actually learn more than what I tell. So I think I will grow more when I started to teach people. So giving back to the community is very important. Sometimes you can teach, let's say, whatever that you know. Like maybe myself, I usually teach augmented reality workshop to students and so on. So this is something that maybe also beneficial for you later on. Okay, I want to just highlight this before we end. This one. So this is if you are familiar with this, this looks like ChatGPT, but this is not GPT-4 model. It is actually code interpreter. So after you upload that, the user actually prompted to actually ask the chatbot to actually cut the movie, right? So in this one, this ChatGPT does not only give out the code, but also do the code for you. That means it's already extracted the video for you. You ask it to extract a video, it does it for you. So what does this mean? This means that AI will somehow, yeah, can do our job in future. Before this, there's a worry that people will stop collaborating because people will not ask each other for coding questions, for coding problems, because now people can ask ChatGPT for coding problems. Now this is another thing that might be that you might have to think about. So one thing that how do we shield ourselves from this? Not really shield this, and whatever that I say today might not be relevant to you already tomorrow onwards, because of how the world changes very rapidly now. But this is what I can share. So if let's say if you want to use AI, unlocking the true power of AI is a game changer for those who can master its versatility. That means if you know what can the chatbot do, ChatGPT do, I mean as an overall, not only let's say to generate language and so on. So let's say a multidisciplinary individual can achieve far more than those who remain confined to a single branch. So it's important for you, let's say if you learn coding, that's good. You can ask ChatGPT on coding. But if you do not know that ChatGPT can also be used to generate images, so you are actually do not know how to compose an image and so on, it will not do you're not using ChatGPT as a wholesome thing. You just use it as for coding, but actually it can be used for a lot of things. People have started to actually develop a whole video animation from using AI. So that means it started with the storyboard, starting to do the music, also to do the character, to do the rendering and so on. So all that can already be done using AI. So it's uh, very interesting times nowadays. So last but not least, code your own path. My journey might not be similar to you. You might have your own journey. And I would like to share things like, let's say, if you want to somehow, for formal education, if you want to code your own path, you want to learn, I think maybe if you have, so your schools maybe have this computer science program as your curriculum, so you can look at it and maybe try it. And let's say if you want to take it further at colleges and university, you have diploma and degree program in computer science or engineering. So you can come to University Malaya, for example, or maybe Sunway University and CB to do computing degrees, and also coding boot camps. You have short-term intensive boot camp like Dex Academy to learn from. And let's say if you want to do, if you let's say okay want to try your test the waters first, you can do online courses. Coursera, Udemy, and edX is some online providers that you can actually pay for to learn some courses that they are not that expensive, but it's good also for you to pay because it creates a kind of where we can say that a commitment. So once you pay, you want to finish, right? So that's good. That's why it's good. Also, you also have YouTube tutorials. As I mentioned, I do the 3D modeling from YouTube tutorials. So you have step-by-step ones, some sharing ones, a lot that you can maybe subscribe to actually learn what's the latest in the industry. Also, you have coding communities. You can, let's say, Kedai Kopi WordPress in Facebook. There's a lot of developers in there that actually share not only on WordPress, not only on website design and everything. They also share about projects with government and other things as well, like interesting stuff. Jom launch and 42 KL also a good coding communities for you to join. I think, yeah, that's all from me. Maybe questions if you have any.
All right. Thank you so much,
The
Mr.
next step.
Hilman. All right. So for those who have questions, perhaps you have been inspired, right, by what Mentor Hilman has shared just now on his journey, as well as on the skills or the path that you can choose. Perhaps you're still in high school, but you would like to start early. And from what he shared just now, there are open websites, open portals, YouTube's, in fact, or tutorials that you can start it. Why not you start early now? Like it's the weekend, and you can look at the videos. What are the first steps that you can do? Use ChatGPT, guys. Ask the questions, right? So those are the resources that you can utilize to kickstart your journey. All right. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to unmute. Be it from students, from our friend from a Sarawak startup just now. Please feel free to unmute your microphone and share your questions. Or if you guys segan a bit and prefer to drop your question in the chat box, please feel free to write them down. And we would love to hear on answer your questions. And whilst waiting for the rest, right, to write their question, I would appreciate if, like, those who attended this session today can share your feedback through this feedback form that I have shared in the chat box. So please feel free to let us know what do you guys think of this session. And don't worry if you guys would like to go back to the notes or want to listen again. Right after this session, I'm going to share with you the recording as well as the slide. Is it possible, Hilman, to share the slide with them?
Yep.
All right, nice. And if you would like to continue the communication with Mentor Hilman, you can contact him, or you can let me know, so I can contact you through our Future Lab portal Makmal Masa Depan, whereby it is a closed portal only for high school students, and you can speak to mentors, ask him questions, have discussion with the mentors in the portal Makmal Masa Depan. Okay, so anyone has any question from the floor? Perhaps after this, if you guys suddenly pops, right? Just teringat that you have something to ask, you can let me know, or can let Hilman know. So don't worry. All right, so I guess everything is clear from the floor. Thank you so much, Hilman, for your time. And thank you so much to all our attendees today. I was expecting a lesser number, but I'm very, very happy that we have more audience today, despite it's weekend and despite Saturday morning. We hope that this sharing session today give new knowledge and give more exposure to you guys on this digital career of app development. And I hope this inspire you guys to pursue and to have this as one of the options that you can have in the future. So about CDMP, if you are curious and wanting to learn, continue learning, we're going to have our next session next week with our next mentor, Mentor Chiwen, in health tech. So this is on tech, but on app development. But Chuyan gonna share on health, how she moves from dietetic world as a dietitian into an entrepreneur through apps as well. So if you guys are more into biology parts, still like the biology and still more into diet, food, healthy lifestyle, that's gonna be a very good session for you to learn as well. Right, so before we end our session, let's have a compulsory event, which is like a group photo.
Yeah, all right.
Guys, comfortable, please feel free to open your camera and let's have a group photo before we end the session today. Anyone would like to open the camera? No cams, no worries, Lucas, no worries. No worries, Nicholas. All right, so it's okay. If you are not comfortable to open the camera, we're gonna take photo in 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying in the call up until 11:20, 11:18 currently. Again, please feel free to keep in touch and stay tuned for our next event. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
most welcome. You're most welcome, Alice.
Thank you, Future Lab, for having me.
No worries, Hilman. Thank you so much for your time and yeah, your knowledge, sharing your knowledge and experience. I actually learned, you know, I myself like already like started curious, like how do you guys develop an app? Oh yeah. So because right after this, I'm gonna share with them the recording, right? Is there any ways that they can actually, you know, download the app or like get an overview of how the app works? Is there any video that I can attach in the email?
Any video that I have a specific one that I can share. I will send it to you.
Hi, Alice.
Okay, actually we have one in Wariscan. We have actually a kit for you to kickstart to do augmented reality and virtual reality app.
Nice.
And I can share that with you so that let's say if they are keen to do it, they keen to explore, they can just start to download it and learn from some tutorials.
Oh, that's nice.
So
I would love to include that
tell
in the
about
email.
it, sorry.
I would love to include that in the email so later on they can explore. All right. Thank you so much, Hilman, for your time. Really, really appreciate this. Is a very enjoyable session. All right.
Thank you, Sharon, for having me.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.